Hey everyone, and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. As you can see, I am by myself this evening. Diana has taken the night off as she is finalizing some contracts for some very big news that we have coming your way. So make sure you stay tuned over the next couple of weeks so you can see what's going to be new here at Linda's Electric Quilters. Tonight we have a great program for you. I have someone very special, near and dear to my heart that will be joining me on set tonight, showing you how that she does binding on quilts, and we're going to be doing it on the new Hoffman bolt, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But as always, make sure you subscribe to our channel. It's going to be right down at that bottom right hand corner. After you click on that subscribe button, make sure you click on the little bell that shows up so you can get notified whenever we post new videos or whenever we go live here at After Hours. So, without further ado, I would be super duper honored to welcome on my grandmother. Come on, Grandma.
Hey.
Hi.
Great
How are
to
you?
be here. Oh, always.
So,
Always.
you are going to be showing us how you do binding
Yes.
on your quilts. And she does some phenomenal binding. Y'all are going to love this. So, I will step over this side because I know you. This is where you want to be. So, I'm going to
Okay.
step over here and go ahead and take us through the process, starting at step 1 of what we're going to be doing for our quilts, for binding
Okay.
them.
The first step we're going to do is decide on the binding we want to use.
Okay.
And in this case, we just use the leftover wide back.
Okay.
So anybody who's got wide backs left over, this is a good way to do it.
Definitely. So the back of this one that we've got is this nice green, and you'll see that, and we're just using that leftovers. Cool.
So then what I want to do is kind of take you through how to measure so that you have everything you need.
Okay.
Then we cut it in the strips, and the strips are 2 1/4 inches wide.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so now when we go to measure it, take my tape measure,
Okay.
and I like to go across the center all the way
Okay.
and the down all the way. I
Okay.
think that gives me the
I'll grab
best
this for you.
measurement.
Okay.
And
Just
I
in case
go
there's
all
any
the
additional stretch in it, the center is always the best place to
Right.
go, right? Okay.
Okay, so 40 inches,
Okay.
and since we're square, we should be, well, we're 41 inches.
Okay.
So we do 41 inches
Okay.
plus 40 inches,
Okay.
81,
Okay.
times 2.
Okay, so 81 times 2 is going
So
to be...
162
Oh, good. She's a math genius, too. Okay.
plus 10 inches,
Okay.
so 172. And then you're going to divide it by whatever width of backing you're using. So
Okay.
like normally it's 40 inches. So I would, what if I wrote the formula down on something, I would write that times 2 divided by 40 because the average width of a fabric is between 40 and 45.
Depending if you have to square it up, there's
Depending,
all sorts of things. Yeah.
And
okay.
so 40 just makes an easy number to divide by.
Okay. So take me through the formula one more time. We've got the length of the quilt one way, which one? In our case, this one was 40 inches. And then you took the length of the quilt the other way, or the width
Right.
of the quilt. And in our case, it was 41 inches.
Correct.
So we've got 40 plus 41, and that put us at 81. Yeah. Golly. 81. It's been a long day. And then you're going to
Times
multiply
2.
that by 2. Okay.
Correct.
So we're at 162. And then you added 10 just for a little give room.
Right.
So 172 in total. Okay, cool.
And then we take and divide that by whatever width.
Okay.
So in this case, what you had left was 60 inches.
Okay. So,
So I
60 inch
divided
wide.
it by 60.
Okay.
And it showed me I needed 3 2 1/4 strips.
Okay, gotcha.
So no matter what width fabric you're using, no matter what type, as long as you use that simple equation, you know exactly how many strips you need
Okay.
to go around anything from a baby quilt all the way to a king size quilt.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so what's next?
So after we've got our measurements and we have our strips cut out, we cut out our 3 strips ahead of time.
Okay,
There are 2 different ways of sewing your strips together.
okay,
Tonight, all I'm doing is going to show just straight across.
okay. So just a simple straight stitch.
Just simple straight stitch. There are times on my more professional quilts, or if a customer wants it, then I'll do a diagonal
On a 45.
at a
Okay,
45.
okay.
So if you're going to do a 45, you go across here and it would open up.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay? So we're just doing straight tonight.
Okay, cool.
And then, of course, we want to open it up.
Alrighty.
And if you don't have your iron
Let's come right over here.
right by you, you can use this
Let's go right up here and do that.
this nifty little tool, which for me, just open that up. And this side of it, and it just presses it open.
So this tool is called Stitcher's Friend, and it's 9 different tools in one. And so she just used the seam press side and the point turner side to open that up, and I absolutely love this cool little tool.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's
okay,
great.
So where are we headed next on this?
Now, what I want to do is put to where the wrong sides are in, and we're going to iron it.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull this pad over here.
Okay. I'll grab the iron for you.
Okay.
It's always nice having an assistant, right?
Oh, always, always. Yeah, you can come over. You can be my assistant anytime you want. I got a whole sewing room set up with stuff.
So you're just going to press those together all the way. And you do this across that whole 172 inches that we had. You go this all the way down this
All
length.
the way down.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And is there any particular reason that you do this ironing? You know, some people I see, they just kind of throw it on there and go with. Is it just an easier method? Is it what's your reasoning behind that?
I like it because I like everything to look really professional,
Okay.
really fresh.
Okay.
I like my corners and all my seams to look nice and pressed. And if they're pressed, they sew on to the quilt better.
Gotcha.
And yeah, you could just sew it on the quilt like that if you wanted to.
Yeah. I've also noticed it helps it from a binding perspective to help it lay a little bit more flat.
Yes.
When you're trying to turn it and flip it and pin it, you're not having to move with all these wrinkles. You don't get puckers in the fabric.
Right.
Because we don't want a pucker in the binding.
No,
We don't want one in the back of the quilt, let alone
No.
the binding.
No, then out comes the seam ripper
Yeah.
and all those things you
Don't you
have
do
to
reverse sewing.
redo.
Okay, so where are we headed now that we've got that ironed?
Okay, then I always put mine on a roll.
Okay.
So I have this little handy dandy knee presser on my machine, and quite a few of the machines come out with them now, especially mine's a straight stitch.
Yeah.
Lots of different brands have them.
And I see you've got those that rolled around a toilet paper roll. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It works out nice and easy, doesn't cost anything.
Okay.
Hey, I'm recycling.
Okay. This is okay. I'm trying to see where you're going with this, but I feel like I'm gonna like it. You never steer me wrong, so I feel like I'm gonna like this.
It makes it easier because then it's not going all over the floor. And
Right.
It's already not. I don't have to unwind it as
Like
I'm
we're
going.
doing right now?
Yes.
Okay.
This just keeps it easy for
Okay.
me.
Awesome. All right.
So I get it all wound,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm going to stick this through, and I'm going to put it right back into my machine.
Okay. Cool. Just a little easy way to keep all that in one spot.
Yeah. That way it's all it's all located in one location for me.
Okay.
Okay.
So where are you headed now?
Now I'm going to make sure my quilt is square.
Oh, okay. I guess that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, you need a square quilt. So I'm going to show you a different tool.
Okay.
I like as long and wide as I can make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I will match this up. Well, look at that. My grandson's so awesome.
Oh, I try.
He does such
I
a
try
great
to square
job.
them up for you. So this is
And-
called an easy square ruler, and this helps phenomenally. This is what I use to square up this quilt. So I didn't do so great eyeballing it, but it really helps to get that nice and square for
Yeah.
you when you're trying to
Yeah.
get that puckered out there.
When it comes to your corners, this really helps your corners lay nicer too.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the more square, that didn't sound right for English, but as you can see,
We don't follow English vocabulary here, so it's fine.
so that is what I use in order to make that possible.
Okay.
Okay. So after we got it all squared up,
Mm-hmm.
we have our binding ready to go.
Okay.
Then we are going to start sewing. Now, when we go to sew our binding on, we have to make sure that we are down 6 to 8 inches from the corner.
Okay.
We do not want to be here. We do not want to hit a seam on a corner.
Yeah.
So usually, mistake I didn't just show, before I wind it, I kind of do a perimeter check.
Okay. Just to make sure
I
you've got
just
plenty
take
there.
and make sure that I
Make
got
sure the
plenty.
formula lined out.
Yes, that the formula worked. Make sure that nice seams aren't going to hit on a corner.
Okay.
And so I know that I'm going to start there and
Gotcha. All right.
and go
That makes
around.
sense. Just to kind of check yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure you got measurements okay and everything like that. Because if ask us how we know. There's always been that one time where you accidentally miss a cut or you measure the incorrect way, and then you get halfway through that binding, you're like, oh great, okay, let's try this again.
I always say measure twice,
Cut
cut
once.
once.
In my case, measure 5 times. Cut maybe. All right.
Well, I just did that from construction. You measure it over and over. Make sure it's right before you cut it. I use that same principle.
Hey, it makes sense. Okay, so let's go back overhead and see where you were laying this out.
Okay. So this is the right side of the quilt.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty side up.
And I'm going to take this, and I want to leave some back like that.
Okay.
I'm actually going to stitch from here.
Okay.
Because we're going to line this up at the end, and that's how we're going to make our cut and know
I
exactly.
see.
And that's why we always add 10 inches.
Okay.
Some people say you only have to add 5 or 6. I just add 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna add 15. Just in case. You never
You
know.
just
You never
don't
know.
know.
If you've got
I
stretch in the
meant-
quilt, if it ends
Yeah.
up being on the bias on accident, you always need to have that extra
Right.
give room.
And
Yeah.
also that allows me plenty here to play with at the end.
Right.
Okay?
So you've got this lined up, and if I open it up, you have these open ends facing towards the outside of the quilt. You want this
Correct.
fold facing in towards the pretty side of
Yes,
the quilt. Okay, cool.
don't go like
Don't
that.
do it the opposite
It's gonna
way.
be a mess. got to have all these rough
Those raw
seam,
edges
raw
right down the
edges
side.
next to each other.
Perfect. Okay.
And then we will start it here. Remember, I said 6 to 8 inches. So
Uh-huh.
I'm figuring,
Give or take.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I will start back here,
Okay.
and I will start sewing around.
Okay.
So I'm going to move this in and put my foot down. Now, before I start, I had the 1/4 inch foot on.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly fine to use that.
Okay.
The only reason I'm putting the straight flat foot on is to show people that you can use a flat foot. You don't have to have a walking foot
Yeah, or a 1/4 inch foot
or
or
a
anything.
1/4
You
inch
can make
foot.
it work
You
for
can
you.
make it work for you.
Okay.
Mine's an older machine. I don't have the walking foot on it.
Got it.
So by putting it, I'm making my 1/4 inch seam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not using
Just
my
not having to use
fancy
that
tool
foot,
here.
just in case you don't have it. Yeah, some of
Right.
us
If you don't
that.
have it,
Yeah.
you can still do this.
Still make it work.
Right. Before this ever came out, this is how we did it.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to be sewing.
Okay. Just a regular straight stitch on
Regular straight stitch,
this one. Okay.
1/4 inch all the way around. And when I get to the corner, I will show you what we do there.
Okay. Oh my goodness. You're flying through this. You've done this once or twice.
Just a few times.
So while you're doing that, talk to us. How long have you been quilting, Grandma? I've always, or quilting, sewing. I know you've been sewing a little bit
Okay.
more than quilting.
I started sewing when I was 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
My dad said if I wanted a new dress for a Maypole dance, I had to make it.
Okay.
Handed me an old set of curtains and a pattern in the sewing machine and said, here.
Okay.
So
All right.
I said, okay. So that's where I learned to sew.
Gotcha. Okay.
I didn't start quilting until I had kids.
Ah, I see.
So I'm
right.
going to go a 1/4 inch from the end. So of course I slow down because I want to make sure I get, a good the 1/4 inch.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to take this up, turn this around, and I'm going right off the corner
Out of 45.
at a 45.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going right off the corner at 45.
Okay.
I am totally bringing this out.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if I can show you. We're going to take, and I'm going to fold this back.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Just like this. Can they see it?
Let's bring you up here. There you go.
Is that
There
good?
you go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to fold this back. So I'm at a 45.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And if you are really worried, you measure it. I'm
Just-
pretty good
just to
at
be sure.
sight.
Yeah.
And then you bring this over.
Okay. It's a little fold on that there.
So you got a little fold.
Got it. Okay.
See?
So it sits up like
It's a
that.
little
Oh, yeah.
flop.
Perfect. A little flop. Look like a little dog ear.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we want to leave that down. Now,
Okay.
you are going to start from the edge. You're not going in a 1/4 inch. You want to start from the
Right there on
very
the corner.
edge.
Okay.
That's really important.
All right. And then you're just going to travel all the way around it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where's the importance there about, you said starting right there at the very end and just going straight off. You know, some things that I've seen tell you to start a 1/4 inch in. And explain the importance of that.
When it comes time for us to fold our corner back,
Uh-huh.
like this, you will see that makes a nice corner.
Ah, I see. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you from what you
Yeah,
were doing.
that's
But yeah,
okay.
no, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
See, that way you have a nice
Real
pointed
corner there.
pointed corner.
Okay, gotcha.
And yeah, when I first started learning, I learned it that way. And that's the fun thing about sewing.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a wrong way.
There's no rule book for
There's
it.
no.
Yeah.
You learn like this toilet paper holder.
Yeah.
You know, you just learn different ways that work for you.
Right.
You know,
You kind
some
of
people.
take knowledge from a bunch of different avenues and kind of build your own rule book.
Yes.
For how you want it to be done. Yeah.
Right. And I have found some things are easier for me that I do one way, and other things.
Makes sense.
Now, if I was on each quilt, depending, okay, if I wanted to, I would use the 1/4 inch on here. I'm showing the flat
Got it.
to show people you can do it
Anyway.
no matter what
yeah.
machine you have. I'm still going to have a good 1/4 inch seam, but it just makes it nice. Sometimes it may be a little easier. Whoopsie, I went over a little bit. Nice backup stitch.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't have that on my old machine.
All right, so we're going to cut it, and then we're going to do your little flip technique to make that little dog ear.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we're going to flip that around, take it around, go right back, starting straight from that edge there like you taught us. Do a little bit of a back stitch for securing it. And then you're on your
Always.
way.
I just do that.
I tell you, watching you do this with that toilet paper holder, that's a lifesaver. It's always over my back, around the floor, underneath the chair wheel.
Gets
Y'all know
all
what I'm talking
tangled
about
up.
at home.
Gets all tangled up.
Oh, yeah.
This way, it doesn't get in my way.
And just as a reminder, everybody, I know you've got a lot of questions going on. We are answering those in the feed. We're staying really focused on what Grandma's doing here, so we're not able to focus on those questions, but they are being answered in the feed by our amazing team. So just to get you double check that feed to get those questions answered. But this is so cool. So going up slow to that end there, turning it on that 45, darting right off to the corner. I can see, now that you got the steps going like that, this thing could be going together real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our flip and our flip, and starting right from the corner. You know what? I might be able to do this. I don't like
this.
binding, but I might be able to do it Grandma's way.
I didn't like binding for years. I always wanted somebody else to do my binding. Finally, one day I said, I'm going to do this. And that's what I did.
Going all the way around this. Any particular thread that you like to use when you're binding? That's always a big question there.
Well, right now I'm using the signature cotton covered poly I get from you guys.
Okay.
I have used a couple of permacore once in a while, but this is kind of my basic is to use this. If I'm doing a competition quilt, sometimes I'll use a little bit thinner. Use I don't know, any of your thinner threads.
Okay, so like a So Fine or maybe
Yeah.
a Pima cotton or something
Yeah,
like that. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Cool.
Just because it'll make a smaller stitch.
Right.
As far as littler holes when it goes through.
Yeah,
The
not as
size of your
bulky.
needle too. Right now I'm just using an average 12.
Good.
You know, if I was using a smaller thread, I'd use a little bit smaller needle.
Yeah,
A finer
kinda
needle.
match that size there.
Yeah, and really, it's so many things depend on who's using it.
Right. It's
I
all
mean,
personal preference.
If I'm going to give this to a kid, I'm going to definitely, and I didn't go all the way out to the corner. Boy, it looked like I was at a 1/4 inch.
Hey, it happens to all of
Okay.
us. It happens to all of us. Always that double
See,
check.
that's that.
Just rolling up to that little piece there. There we go.
There. I'm like, where is my corner?
All right, so we're getting around here to the last side of this, and let's talk us through how we're going to
Okay.
accomplish what's about to happen here. So let's go ahead and start that stitching, and then I know we don't want to get too close to that last piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to, oops, I moved your camera.
You're okay.
I like to go up to where I got about 6 inches here
Okay.
open so that I have plenty to work with.
Got it.
Especially on a bigger quilt, you will need that because you're maneuvering a lot of fabric.
Yeah. Okay. So we're rolling over here back overhead again.
See, now you
Oh,
can
look at
see.
that perfect amount of binding. You're so good. We love formulas.
So I will take this here and here.
Okay.
Okay, and that tells me where my seam is going to meet at.
Okay.
Okay, and you can do that. You could take and just press it down just a little bit, just enough so that when you open it back up, you know where your cut's going to be.
A little bit of a finger press there.
Right.
Oh, I see.
See?
Okay.
So I bring that up, and right now I just have my little scissors,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to do a 1/4 inch.
Okay.
Now, some people may need to measure it. That's fine. This little neat tool right here
Gives you that little
says
eyeball
right there is a 1/4 inch.
Yeah. You can kind of work from that.
So,
It's more or less just an eyeball thing. You have
but
to go
it's an
off of.
eyeball thing.
Okay. And you're going to do that to both sides?
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that to both sides.
I'm like extremely invested in this right now, yo. This is so cool.
Move that out of the way.
Okay.
Open this up. And this is why I say give yourself, especially if you got a big old king size quilt you're working on,
Yeah.
all that weight
Yeah.
that you got going on, you need a way to be able to hold it.
Hold them back together.
So then I'm going to move it back over here.
Right through there just like that. All right. Oh my gosh, look at that lay. Oh.
So then I'm just going to take my little tool and open this up.
Uh-huh. You're going to take one of those Stitcher's friends home, aren't you?
Yes, I am. This is better than any of the ones I got. I was going to bring my old one, and I thought, that's out of wood.
So you're sitting there just pressing that down.
Yeah, I like everything pressed.
Yeah.
I just think it lays. See?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's nice. Okay.
So now I'm going to stitch this.
Okay, so back over to the machine we go. You're going to go through that process. Okay. So let's go back overhead and show us how you're going to finish this off around the corners.
So we're going to take and iron this.
Okay.
Where's our pressing?
Let me grab your mat. I'm moving all sorts of stuff around on you. All right. So there's your iron.
My iron is one of my best friends for sewing.
Okay.
Okay. Buy a good iron, and it will be worth its weight in gold.
So it's one of those nice pointed ones with
Yeah.
a little pointy nose.
And I would do this all the way around.
All the way around the quilt. And
Just to show.
You're getting right here to this and
Right
like
to the
bending
edge.
it almost over.
Right,
like a little bit of
because
force there, yeah.
we want to make sure that when we put our seam back in that it's going to be invisible.
Gonna hit it. Perfect. Okay. So you would iron around the whole entire quilt.
Whole entire quilt.
Okay.
Then I would take and fold this over. Okay, and see, I've actually pulled to make sure that I got it good and tight.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to flip this right over.
Okay.
And you can use either thing, whichever works out for you. I love purple, if you can't tell. So you could use the little clips.
Nice little
That's,
binding clips there. Okay.
You know, They're nice. People like them. Or me, I'm used to pins.
Okay.
So I like to make sure this corner is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then put this over. Make sure that they match good.
Got it. Nice
So
little
see,
corner
you
there.
got a nice corner.
corner. Yeah.
Okay, now I always make sure that I'm going to pin where my corner is.
Just to keep it kind of locked down.
Kind
and-
locked
and
down,
straight.
I meant.
Yeah. Just poke right through that. All right. I got multiple layers of batting in there for you. I gave you a difficult one there.
Yeah, that's okay. Do we have any of the hat pins we use on the machine? Yeah.
Here you go. Get you some nice.
Give me
thick
a real pin.
One that's going to push through that.
Give me a real pin.
There you go.
Okay, so see, it's really important, and hey, that would work good too. You know that? Look at that.
Your little point. There you go.
So that I can get my corner nice and pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now that you've got those flipped over, and would you do this around the whole thing, or would you do one side at a time? That's a good question. Would you go ahead and have this all pinned down all the way around?
I
or
would. I pin them down
the
all
whole
the
thing?
way
Okay,
around.
cool.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep the
then-
process going.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And it really, on some people, they just stitch right on this side, right along this edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people will turn it over
And do a little stitch in the ditch.
and stitch in the ditch.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got this pin or clips, whichever you use. I'm going to take it over to my machine.
Okay.
And we're going to show you. I got to flip this over so that I have the correct side up. Because we're going to do
A
the
little bit of stitch
in the ditch.
Yeah, it's a good
Okay.
technique there.
So we're going to bring this over. And again, you're not going to want a 1/4 inch foot on this. You're going to want just your regular sewing
Straight line foot
in
there.
order to. So I put it right here. And if you can see, my needle is going to be on the right here in this ditch is what our goal is.
Okay. You can even roll down your needle maybe just to make sure
Yeah.
that's exactly where you need it to be.
Right. And that's what I did. I rolled the needle down and take the pins out as you go.
Okay.
Some machines don't like the pins in. Other machines don't mind. You'll know your machine.
Just for safety
But
precautions,
for
take out the
safety
pins.
precautions, take the pins out. That's just... And don't step on the foot to make it cut.
And you're just repeating this process all the way around
All the way
now.
around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if I want my corners to be just so, I can go back and actually hand stitch that
Oh, okay.
with the same color thread as the background if I want.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I do quilts for competition,
Mm-hmm.
then I would spend more time on this binding than
Oh,
I
yeah.
would.
For sure.
If I'm doing it for a grandkid, I'm going to make it as sturdy as I can.
Yeah.
So it can be washed and dried and abused. And loved, I should say. Loved. Loved.
So you're just following that ditch all the way down.
Yeah,
Just to kind of make it more or less disappear
right.
in there.
And then when we press it with the iron afterwards, you'll see it even looks better yet.
Yeah. So you're going to go ahead and cut here so we can see what it's looking like.
Yeah.
All right. And then if we flip it
Oh,
over,
here you see we're
take
right,
a look. Oh, that's so good.
right along the edge.
I love that. So it has that all the way around, and then it disappears
Right.
right there on the front.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's so
And so
pretty.
when you take and press that,
Uh-huh.
just press it down some, your corners look really nice, and it helps this sink into
kind of
your
disappear a
ditch.
little bit more. I love that.
And you do that all the way around.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time. I bet y'all had a great time too, looking and seeing how Grandma does the binding. You know, some people call you Alice. To everybody on internet world, you are Grandma.
Ah, that's
So,
good. That's my favorite.
so thank you so much for being with me today. My gift to you, as I know you love it, I'm going to let you take home one of these Stitcher's Friends so you can have them. As a reminder, everything that we've shown tool-wise, the Stitcher's Friend, the Easy Square Ruler, is available on our website, longarmsupplies.net. That link is in the description below. Again, Grandma, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you join us tomorrow on Good Morning LEQ. Bye.